small kickoff meeting for a big initiative to deliver AI enabled automation in a regional ops group. The sponsor was confident, the plan was tight, and then it started. Blank stares, shrugged shoulders. Some folks asked polite questions, while others, they just noted. Um, Nothing really landed with the group. And of course, 3 weeks later, there was no traction. 6 weeks into it, there was just active resistance. Same change, same company, same rollout, just a different room, another team. And a few weeks later, they were already building prototypes. Why the dramatic difference? It wasn't the processes, it wasn't the tools, it wasn't the technology, not even the initiative itself. It was one initiative for everybody. There was one key difference: clarity. Today, we're unpacking the paradox every leader encounters. Why do some teams lean into change while others quietly and sometimes not so quietly resist it? Why does ambiguity trigger disengagement while clear desired outcomes unlock momentum and trust? Let's look at the neuroscience behind resistance, the three core psychological needs that drive buy in, and a practical framework for creating clarity that leads, not forces teams forward. And we'll examine why this matters even more with AI enabled environments. So let's talk about the neuroscience of uncertainty. When direction is unclear, our brains don't wait patiently for answers, they brace for impact. The amygdala, the brain's early warning system, treats ambiguity as a threat. You may think you're announcing a bold initiative, but what your team's nervous system really hears is, "Oh, we might be in danger." And that triggers a psychological response. Cortisol rises, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for judgment and collaboration, starts shutting down. Creativity evaporates and people become guarded. This is not the space for decision making. It narrows. This isn't laziness, it's a protective response. And additionally, you have to consider that traditional change messaging often makes it worse. It's well intended, but phrases like trust the process and we'll figure it out together, they're meant to reassure, but to the brain at the physiological level, an alert. It sounds like we don't really know what we're doing, just go with it. This is the hidden cost of unclear direction. It burns cognitive energy, it invites second guessing, and it triggers passive resistance that looks like politeness until nothing actually gets done. If we want real engagement, we have to replace ambiguity with clarity. So there are three psychological needs that drive buy in. If resistance is self protection, then buy in is self confidence. And that confidence grows when three core needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Let's talk about autonomy. Autonomy isn't about letting people do whatever they want. It's about enabling intelligent choices within meaningful constraints. Clear desired outcomes give people the what and the why without prescribing the how. When teams understand what their success looks like, they stop waiting for instructions and start solving problems. They move from compliance to ownership. Where competence is concerned, this one gets overlooked a lot of the time. Competence isn't just about having the skill. That's easy to measure and easy to get out of the way. It's about believing that success is possible with the skills that we have. And that belief disappears fast when goals are vague. If people can't see the target, they don't know if they're making progress. If every direction shift feels arbitrary, they stop believing effort matters. That's the road to learned helplessness. Clear desired outcomes fix that. They define what good looks like. They show what progress means. They allow teams to measure their momentum, adjust their approach, and build confidence through visible improvement, even when the road is hard. And when it comes to relatedness, we are wired to seek connection. When people understand how their work contributes to something that matters and see that others are aligned with the same purpose, it strengthens commitment. Without clear outcomes, teams drift, silos grow, individuals focus on their own survival independently, and true collaboration goes out the window. However, when outcomes are shared and meaningful, people lean in, they support each other, not out of obligation, but because they're working towards something that feels worth doing together. I saw this firsthand with a team that had been resisting all of this agile stuff, and I just didn't want to do it for months. They blistered at the ceremonies, all this new stuff. It just felt weird. They didn't want to do it. They debated estimation endlessly. They pushed back on almost every practice. To break through this impasse, we reframed the conversation. Instead of focusing on the activities like do daily stand-ups, we or estimate every task. You know, those are the typical activities that they always have to do. We focused on the reason behind those practices. That was the key, giving the reason. Why is this important? So we said, let's reduce onboarding time from 14 days to 2. And that gave the stand up a clear purpose to help us stay aligned and move faster to reach that goal. Instead of asking people to estimate everything, we asked, what's the simplest path to show meaningful progress every week? And suddenly, the team could see why these activities mattered and how they helped us reach our outcome. The agile practices didn't change. The desired outcome did. And suddenly, the same people who had been dragging their feet were energized and started contributing because now the work had purpose. Now, there are four levels of direction clarity. And so, how do you tell where your team is? And do they have the clarity that they need? Most teams are operating at one of four levels. And the first level, we call that vague. This is where you hear things like do your best, make it better, deliver value. Yay, yay, rah, rah, go team, go. These sound supportive and are well intended, and they leave too much room for interpretation. Everyone fills in the blanks differently, and that fragments the effort. In level two, you're talking about the task based approach. We're very clear and precise. Complete these tickets, run these tests, ship this version. It's concrete, yeah, and it encourages compliance. People do what's asked, not more. There's no room for judgment, ownership, or insight. It erodes accountability, creativity, and innovation because you're just waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, and that's all you do. When we get to level three, this is when we start talking about output driven. Um, Build these features, launch this product. It's at a higher level. So is it better? Yes. And now we're tying the task to the tangible deliverable, so that gives a little bit of clarity, and we're still missing the impact, the bigger picture point of why we're doing things. Teams can meet these goals perfectly, sure, and still fail to deliver something that matters. And then the fourth level, this is where we're focusing on outcome driven statements, like enable new customers to reach value within 48 hours or reduce escalations by 30% through better self service. This kind of clarity invites creativity, judgment, and care. It sets a direction without dictating the route. That invites for people to think and come up with their own ideas. That makes it their own invention, their own creation. Do you want to do a quick test and see where your team stands? Ask five people to write down what success looks like for your current initiative. If the answers vary wildly or sound like task lists instead of outcomes, that's when you know you've got a clear clarity gap. Now, contrast that with NASA during the Apollo era. You could ask anyone from engineers to janitors what they were working on, and the answer was the same: to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely. That's clarity. That's alignment. That's the power of a shared desired outcome. So, how do we go from output to outcome? There's a shift in language that is essential. Translating the vision into outcomes, it's a skill. It means moving from vague aspiration, like delight our users, to something measurable and real, like enable 85% of users to complete onboarding without assistance in under 10 minutes. That's very clear. It paints a very clear mental picture, and it doesn't spell out how to do it. It just paints that picture so that everybody knows where we're heading. Now, this isn't just about jargon, it's not about fancy speak or anything like that. It has a real purpose, a real neurological purpose. It's about surfacing the intent behind the work. It's about defining value in a way that the team can act on and everyone can recognize when they've successfully delivered it. And far from limiting flexibility, outcome language expands it. It invites experimentation. It lets teams course correct without losing alignment. It also dramatically reduces rework because when teams understand the why, they build better whats, even if the how changes along the way. We're too stuck on the how. People prescribe, dictate the how too much. That's a form of professional disrespect on the people who have all the skill and the capability to do things. Instead, when we focus on that outcome, people can use those skills to wow us and really be creative and deliver truly useful products that align with that desired outcome. So, why does clarity matter even more with AI? As I've mentioned many times before, AI has a magnifying effect, and this certainly applies for clarity. AI doesn't infer intent, it doesn't read between the lines, it delivers exactly what we ask for fast. Ask it to improve engagement, and it might generate 12 notifications a day that overwhelm everyone. Ask it to streamline onboarding, and it might cut out necessary steps. That's not intelligence, that's execution without any empathy. Outcome clarity changes that. When we prompt with something that's a clear, has clear desired outcome definition, we say who benefits, what changes, how success is defined. Now the AI becomes a collaborator, not a blunt tool. It also changes how humans experience AI adoption. Most resistance to AI isn't about the technology itself. It's about the fear of irrelevance, loss of control, or being judged by this black box of systems. Those fears disappear when people understand the outcome, their role in achieving it, and how AI fits into that picture. When AI is framed as a tool to help them succeed, not replace them, they lean in, even with excitement and curiosity. I've seen this play out. One company used AI to generate support scripts, fast and soulless. Customers didn't feel heard. So we changed the outcome to help customers solve billing issues without feeling blamed. Same tool, different intent, much better results. So, how do we recognize and respond to resistance? Resistance often looks like non-compliance, but it's more often a request for clarity. When someone says, this doesn't make sense, don't double down. Step back and ask, why doesn't it make sense to you? What are they seeing or not seeing that's triggering that concern? Watch for red flags to help you avoid friction and ultimately from confrontation, like your team's completing tasks with no real progress being made. Or is there constant rework due to shifting priorities? Or is there passive participation in key ceremonies? And certainly, when you see excitement that fades right after kickoff, these are all signals that break down that are showing you a breakdown in your direction clarity. So instead, ask, what change are we trying to create? Benefits from this, and how will we know when we've succeeded? Those three guiding questions can really help you get through. And invite the team into those answers. When people help define the outcome, they're no longer just executing the work, they're invested in its success. That sense of ownership doesn't begin at delivery, it begins at direction. And that turns effort into successful impact. So, how do we implement this? A simple way. Here's you can start shifting your team right away. Three simple steps. Step one, spot where clarity is missing. Listen closely. Is your team asking for checklists instead of asking questions about why what they're doing is important? Are they showing signs of confusion or going quiet when decisions are made? These are your cues. Step two is frame or reframe the desired outcome. Use the formula like this. Start asking questions like who benefits? What specific change do we want to see? And how will we know we've succeeded? Keep it grounded in the real world, not internal metrics, but actual impact. And step three, reinforce it constantly. Clarity is fragile. It doesn't last through one kickoff. It has to be repeated, re expressed, and woven into the way you plan, deliver, and reflect. So use it in planning. How does this help us reach the outcome? Or in retrospectives, what did we learn about getting closer to it? Use it in updates. Here's where we stand on the outcome, not just the tasks. And here's the truth about resistance, it's not a wall. It's a signal. It's your team telling you something doesn't add up. And when you respond not with force, but with clarity, you unlock the energy that resistance was trying to protect at that neurological level. Because people want to succeed, they want to feel competent, trusted, and part of something that matters. And when they understand the outcome, they move faster, with more heart, with better decisions. They stop building to specifications and start building to purpose. So here's your challenge: pick one initiative, just one. Define the desired outcome, share it with your team, ask for feedback, let it guide your next decisions. Then watch what shifts and let us know in the comments what you and your teams learn. And if you'd like to learn more about creating psychological safety that supports this approach and this transformational change, click one of these. I'll be happy to tell you all about it.